Want something that you can ride for a month across the country and then go 10 days into the backcountry with all your gear camping on a remote lake? This is the bike for you. Not to be biased, but it's probably the best dual sport bike in the whole world. It's just that reliable, it's that easy to work on, the fun factor is there, you can ride it on the highway with no problem, it's got enough torque, enough high-end speed. Have you been thinking about buying a DR650? Well, after multiple seasons of riding on-road, off-road, I've got a 15,000 kilometer review for you. So if this is a bike that you're interested in, you're in the right place. Make sure you stay to the end to find out all the reasons why I think this is one of the best dual sport bikes on the market. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Breath of Adventure. It is a beautiful fall day and we are in the forest. There is a nice breeze, the leaves are falling, and we've got bluebird skies. Couldn't ask for a better day to be riding in the woods. Today we're going to talk about my overall review and honest review of the DR650. I've ridden this bike on-road, off-road, on the highways, through the mud, in the rain. I've moto camped, and I feel like I've finally gotten to a place where I can give a very honest and genuine review of this bike. And this review is going to be for anybody who is interested in the bike. Maybe you're not sure which dual sport bike is best for you, and you're searching the internet for all these different videos of people talking about their experience on the bike. So I hope that this review helps you. Engine reliability. When it comes to having a dual sport that you want to get into the middle of nowhere or you want to travel around the world, engine reliability is number one. We can't have a bike that's going to break down and something that's going to take a long time to get parts. The longer it takes to get parts, the less amount of riding we're going to be doing. So when it comes to picking a dual sport that's best suitable for you, am I willing to make some small compromises to have the longevity and reliability of a certain bike? Or do I want to have something that's got more performance, better suspension, but may break down more often? And that's a huge thing when it comes to the engine performance of the DR650. It's not the most powerful bike, but in my opinion, it has enough power and enough torque to enjoy all sorts of riding. On the road, on the trail, anything that you can throw at this bike, it can handle. And with very small modifications, such as changing the gear ratio, changing the carburetor, opening up the airbox, and adding an aftermarket exhaust, you can tweak the engine performance to a degree to kind of help increase that fun factor. When it comes to the engine and the reliability and the performance, I've been loving this engine. It has enough torque, it has enough high-end speed for the highways. I can get through single track, I can get through the mud pits, I can haul around all of my camping gear with no problem, and it just keeps chugging along. So overall, the power delivery is very smooth across the band. It's got enough torque to get you through what you throw at it, and it's got enough high speed to take care of you while you're on the highway. One of the things that's talked about a lot about the dual sport bikes is how much vibration we're feeling in our feet and in our hands. And with the DR650, I've been finding it butter smooth. Yeah, you can feel the vibration and you can feel the engine rattling around. This is a single cylinder thumper, and of course there's going to be vibration, but I've never had enough vibration that it felt like I needed to do anything about it. When it comes to fuel economy, the DR650 is known to have one of the best mileage. Now, depending on what kind of modifications you do to the carburetor and the exhaust, how lean it's running, and the way that you have it geared, really will depend on your fuel consumption. But if you want to travel long distance, this is the bike for you. It is a very low fuel consuming bike. So when it comes to long distance, that's amazing. All we have to do is we need to swap to a larger tank just to make sure that we can keep going in between those fuel stops. Reliability and maintenance. Now that's one of the most beautiful things of the DR650. They have huge maintenance intervals. They don't require that much attention. The things that go wrong with them are very simple to fix. They're easy and straightforward to work on, and the parts are abundant. You can get parts aftermarket or OEM or used very quick and very efficiently. Now that's a very important thing when it comes to dual sport riding, because the more we're broken down, the less we get to ride. So we really want to be choosing a bike that has a very good maintenance schedule. A couple of the known things is obviously the neutral sending switch. That is like probably the highest thing you'll see on the forums of what can go wrong with this bike. Most of them have been fixed, but it's also very easy to fix. The carburetor is one of the downsides of the bike because you can flood it out if you drop it. It is a little bit more finicky to tune and doesn't always perform as great in the cold temperatures. But one of the things that I have had to keep on top of, the O-rings and the gaskets in the carburetor do deteriorate. So it's really important to keep on top of that, especially the float bowl O-rings. They're known to deteriorate and crack, which then causes a lot of problems. So talking about the maintenance on the bike, it's like oil changes, air filter, wheel bearings, cush bearing. You'll have to do the pivot bearings once in a while for sure, because the suspension linkage is the lowest part of the bike. So if you do a lot of like off-road riding and you're in the water, you're gonna rust out those linkage bearings. So other than that, it's like tires, chain, and sprockets. These are just regular maintenance things on any bike, right? It doesn't matter what kind of bike you're gonna have. Those are very simple things to look after. I think what makes the DR650 such a great bike when it comes to maintenance is it's so easy to work on. The single cylinder thumper, it's got a lot of access to get into different areas of the bike, a couple bolts to take off to get to the air filter. It's easy to pull the carburetor and drain it or change the jets while it's on the bike. It's a little more challenging if you've got an aftermarket tank like me because you can't pivot it as much. I think overall, because the bike can last so long, there's so many people that have 80 to 100,000 kilometers or more on their bikes because they've taken care of it. But the taking care of it is simple. It's very easy and very affordable. So that's why I love this bike, is the bearings are 20 bucks. The oil is cheap. It's simple. There's no tech. I don't have to worry about any programming. It's just straightforward, old school technology. So over 15,000 kilometers, I've had very little go wrong with this bike, and I do a wide variety of riding. Trails, rocks, mud, water crossings, highway riding. I've really put this thing through the ringer and had very little things go wrong. That makes me just super stoked about the bike. And it also builds a lot of confidence to get into the middle of nowhere like this, spend a few nights, and you know the bike is gonna start. You're not gonna have problems. Next on the list is comfort. The DR650 is very comfortable. It depends on what style of riding you're gonna do, but there's so many aftermarket parts available to tweak the bike and the geometry to suit you. So for me, we have the lowered foot pegs, we've got raised handlebars, and we've got the Seat Concept seat. Long distance, I find the bike very comfortable. I don't get jammed up in my knees. I can sit fairly upright on the bike. The way that it's set up right now, I can stand for long periods of time to get a break from sitting. Now I do know that the stock way that the bike is set up is a little bit more crammed. The bars are lower, the foot pegs are higher, so you are a bit cramped, but it's very easy to change it so it's suitable for you and your body geometry. When it comes to off-road performance, again, it depends on how you tweak the bike, but I've been very happy with how this bike is handled off-road. Now it does depend on the tires, and as you can see, I run basically full knobbies. That's just gonna vary on you and where you're gonna ride. So if you're gonna get off-road and on the trails, you need to have the knobbies. And once you have the knobbies, the bike is very comfortable off-road. It's a tiny bit heavy for some people or a little bit high off the ground for off-road riding. But again, you can change that for yourself. It doesn't have to stay in the stock dimensions if you get into off-road riding. I feel like the DR650 is just becoming a better and better bike. Some of these new Dualsport bikes are coming in at over 400 pounds. When my bike is fully loaded up with all the gear, it's definitely over 400 pounds, and it's not the nicest thing to pick up. But if your bike is already 400 pounds, and then you add all of your aftermarket parts, your engine guards, your skid plates, your luggage racks, and then all your luggage on it, you're gonna be pushing 450, 460 pounds. And at that weight off-road, you need to be careful. It's harder to maneuver the bike. It's harder to pick it up if you drop it. And we just need to be cautious because when we're off-road, sometimes we don't have signal or reception. We might be riding by ourselves, and we need to know that we can keep picking up the bike. It checks off the boxes enough for me to get moto camping. It's not something that is very enjoyable in the single track. I've done it and you can do it, but it is a little large, it is a little heavy, but it can handle it. So off-road, the DR650 is a great choice with small modifications. When it comes to the modifications, this bike has been basically fully modified. There are a few more things that could be done, such as a pumper carb and the exhaust, but I've chosen not to do that. One, because the pumper carb can be a little bit finicky to tune, and I like to have a quiet bike in the woods. Just coming in here now, I had the most beautiful owl come in front of me, landed right on the tree branch. We had a stare off. I've come up to coyotes on the trail. I've come up to moose on the trail, and that's because the bike is so quiet. I also like it being quiet because it's a little bit more stealth, right? Like, people don't hear you coming or leaving if you're in some pretty cool stealth area spots. And also, I like a quiet bike when I'm on the highway for long periods of time. It can get a bit droney when you have exhaust, but the suspension has been done. I have all the protection armor. I have a larger tank. I've got a comfortable seat, and I have all the luggage racks. So everything has basically been done to this bike. And as I've said before, it's super easy to get the parts. And that makes the DR650 such an amazing bike if you're looking for a dual sport. Weaknesses and downsides of the bike. I've kind of touched on a little bit of it. It's a little underpowered, but with some small modifications, you can change that. It is a little bit heavy, but again, all of these newer dual sport bikes that are coming out are heavier than the DR650, and some of them are even like the 400cc marks. I feel like as these newer bikes come out and become heavier and heavier with a smaller cc, the weight of the DR650 just seems to be better overall compared to some of the bikes on the market. Another weakness, obviously, the carburetor. I touched on that. Flooding, a little bit finicky in cold weather. Depending on the elevation changes you're going through, you could change the jetting, which is very simple. Not as nice as having fuel injected. I am a little excited to have a bike that's fuel injected, just because I have had an occurrence where my float bowl O-rings deteriorated. I dropped the bike very easily, very lightly in the woods, and it disconnected everything. The gasket blew apart and I flooded everything out. I filled the airbox, I filled the cylinder, and it was plugged up with gas. I had to tow my bike out of the woods. There's a video on that you can watch, Stranded in the Woods. Some of the other downsides of the bike when they're in the stock form is obviously the suspension in the seat. That is something that everybody talks about. Change the seat and modify the suspension. Again, it depends on what kind of riding you're doing. If you're looking to get a DR650 to rip around to work for a short commute, you want to go to the store on it, you just want to have some fun, those things are fine. But if you want to start doing long distance traveling, you want to go off-road, you want to go camping, the seat and the suspension is something that you're going to want to modify. It really transforms the bike, and it's very affordable to do because there are so many aftermarket and used parts available. One of the other things that I wouldn't say is a weakness or a downside, but there is very little tech on the bike. Again, to me that's a pro, to some that can be a con. But there is no ABS, there's no fancy digital display. Yeah, it's just there aren't as many bells and whistles as some of the newer bikes, but again, if we want to be riding across the country and we want to be in remote areas, the less tech, the better. Right? The more simplified the bike is, the better the bike is in my opinion. And that's one of the reasons why I love the DR650. It's a very simple bike. Why keep the bike and who is it for? I've kept this bike because it's been so reliable and I find it checks almost all the boxes for me. So why get rid of it? It just keeps going, it starts every time, and I'm able to keep up to my friends that are on a little bit more powerful bikes like the T7. Yes, in a straight stretch down the highway, they're gonna be gone, but when we're on the trails and we're having fun, there's no problem with keeping up, so I don't see a reason of getting rid of the bike. Who is the bike for? The bike is for anybody who wants a reliable, fun dual sport. All of the things that I've been talking about are the reasons why you want this bike. You can get into having a DR650 for a few $1,000s Canadian. You can't really beat it, right? And if you buy the bike for a few grand and you have another $1,000 to put into parts and maintenance, then you have a fully set up bike for $4 grand. And in today's market, that's amazing. that can reach close to 100,000 kilometers with very low maintenance. It's like, what other bike compares to that? So this is a perfect bike for somebody that's on a budget and wants something that's reliable. That's exactly the reason why I bought the DR650. It hit the budget and I knew that it was reliable. Because I knew I was going to be getting into the type of moto camping that I am, I wanted the most reliable bike on the market, and I truly do believe that the DR650 is the most reliable dual sport on the market. It always has been, and it probably still will. Like I say, it's like the more tech that comes out in the newer bikes, and they're heavier, and the parts are harder to get, it just makes the DR650 an even better choice. Advice for new DR650 owners. When it comes to buying the bike, I would really try to buy a bike from somebody who loved it. The lower amount of owners, the better, and finding somebody that had loved the bike, maintained it, already done a bunch of aftermarket mods such as my bike, you know you're getting it from somebody who cared for it. Over the 15,000 kilometers on this bike, I really don't have any complaints. To be completely, brutally honest, I don't have any complaints. There's little quirks here and there, such as the weight and the carburetor and a bit of a lack of suspension. But again, you just modify the type of riding for the kind of bike you have. If you find yourself wanting to get into more technical riding, enduro riding, then yeah, find more of an enduro bike versus dual sport. But if you want something that you can ride for a month across the country and then go 10 days into the backcountry with all your gear camping on a remote lake, this is the bike for you. In closing, would I buy this bike again? Absolutely. I'm actually in the process of deciding what bike I want to go with next. And it's really going to depend on what my future plan of riding is going to be. I am planning and prepping and have the intention of some long distance cross-country traveling. And for me, the DR just seems to be the best bet. What would I do to the DR650 if I do buy another one? I'm definitely going to do even more of a suspension upgrade. I'll probably do an RMZ front end, and I'll probably also do like a full rear shock that has adjustabilities to it. That's where I find the bike lacks a little bit, is there is not very much adjustability in the suspension. And coming from a motocross background, I know how crucial that is. So I think just getting rid of the whole front end and the stock shock and spring and swapping it out with something more progressive, something that has adjustments, would be the step that I would take. But either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. After 3.5 seasons of riding this bike, I finally felt like I could come with some wisdom and experience of the bike, working on it, ordering parts, riding in all different terrains to really give you an authentic experience of the bike. I always appreciate you coming along for the adventure. Make sure you ride to live another day, and we'll see you in the woods.